About a month before I even started reviewing anime on the internet, I remember seeing my sister watching some show on her laptop. She said it was about mechs playing basketball and that I should give it a shot. Really? Mechs playing basketball? This is simultaneously the coolest and yet most retarded thing to ever come out of Japanese animation. Well, maybe not the most retarded thing.
Card games on motorcycles.
Card games on motorcycles!
This marvel of anime is called Basquash, and because it has been localized, I've been forced to pirate. So, let's give it a go.
どこかの宇宙のどこかの銀河もっとどこかの惑星アースダッシュ
You know your futuristic sci-fi story of humanity is just retarded when you rename planet Earth to something stupid. Basquash is set in the far future, but it's never really specified how far, but it's far enough that the moon's orbit has deteriorated and now dominates the skyline at night. No, that's not a joke regarding artistic oversight. That's actually a plot point. Oh, also the moon has been renamed too to Moonies, Moon Eyes, or Loomis, depending on which fan sub you manage to get. I don't know which is the actual name, and I don't care. It's the fucking moon!
That's no moon.
The star of the show is Dan J.D., a street rat who also acts as the masked vigilante Dunk Mask, committing terrorist acts in Rolling Town, a desert metropolis. The dominating sport of this city, and everywhere else for that matter, is Bigfoot basketball, a form of basketball played while riding around giant robots. Dan hates BFB, and spends his time as Dunk Mask committing petty crimes like smashing BFB monitors or what have you. We all learned this in the first episode, entitled I Am Legend.
Damn it, Fred!
Dan's helped out by his two pals, Gans, a dude with a seriously fucked up face, and Bell, a guy who's always stuffing his face. Gans collects the parts from the shit Dan smashes up and resells them in pawn shops while Bell sits on his fat ass on the rooftops, informing Dan of the movements of the police chasing him. Also, Dan has this weird shape-shifting pet named Spanky that acts as his headband, his Dunk Mask disguise, and several other things over the course of the series. Spanky is never explained. In fact, most of the main characters all seem to have familiars that hang out with them, and none of them are ever touched upon. It's almost like Choo Choo and Utena. These minor animal characters have no reason to exist, and are there simply to act as a mascot that the company can make plushies or stickers out of it to garner a quick buck. Dan really hates all the mechs in the series, because his sister was stomped on by one when they were younger, paralyzing her from the waist down and destroying what looked to be a pretty bright future as a professional basketball player. His sister, who kinda looks like a helmetless Luca from Chrono Trigger, now spends all of her time playing on her weird steampunk computer while stuck in this pretty fantastical wheelchair that has extending arms and shit. I wonder if it flies like the wheelchair from Elfen Lied. Anyways, Dan saves the money he makes from the BFB television parts he steals in order to go to the moon and have his sister's legs fixed. Basquash takes a page from Turn A Gundam here, as they establish pretty early on that while the injuries are beyond the technology of the Earth, the lunar civilization is highly advanced and may be able to help her. And then they re-establish it. And re-establish it. In fact, you'll see the same fucking flashback regarding Dan's sister about 10 times over the course of this series, so you better learn to like it. Dan bumps into a mysterious stranger who turns out to be Miyuki, a black girl who happens to be a novice Bigfoot mechanic. I mentioned she's black because she's the only black person in the entire series, including her own family. Oh, wait, no. There's this guy who appears for like, 5 minutes. I think they wanted to include every single major fetish in the book when they designed the female main characters for Basquash, and they needed somebody with dark skin, genetics, or storyline be damned. So every fetish, okay, let's count them off. Dark skin, glorious master race, gigantic tits, glasses, and lollies. Ah, Jesus, there's 2 of them! In a flashback ripped directly from Love Hina, it's revealed that Miyuki knew Dan when they were kids. They hold the tension of Miyuki actually being Dan's childhood friend for 5 minutes, though. I guess they knew it was just too damn obvious. Gans and Belle also remember her, with Belle stating that Miyuki came back looking feminine. Feminine? Look at her, she's the spitting image of a tomboy. So that's what they meant. Also, at night, the lunar city itself doubles as this really fucking weird holographic projector, displaying images over every city on the Earth. That doesn't explain how the sound and music are also transmitted, but whatever. Sitting underneath this Aurora Fuckeralis, Miyuki and Dan have this weird semi-romantic chat that doesn't really go anywhere, but does culminate in Miyuki giving Dan her Bigfoot, the Dungan Go. Later at Rolling Town's BFB match, the gang reveals that the majority of BFB's excitement comes from post-production editing, and that the games themselves are actually really fucking boring. So Dan, because he's a hot-headed idiot, takes the Dungan Go's dunk mask and hijacks the game, claiming that real basketball has to be extreme, or whatever. Enjoy this part, guys, because it's the only really entertaining bit of the entire series. Dan goes fucking wild, dribbling on the walls, jumping on other mechs, and kicking all sorts of ass. He's stuffed as he goes for a slam dunk, though, and ends up crashing and burning. Also, Dan's antics cause the stadium to crumble and collapse, killing thousands in the name of making basketball entertaining again. Our hero, everybody! This is also the first time we even get to see the opening of the show, it having been omitted from the beginning of the first arc. It's middle of the road as far as anime themes go, I guess. It's pretty fast-paced, though. I find myself really having to keep, what? I've seen way too many fucking anime shows. Dan, despite being a minor, spends a year in jail for the destruction of the Rolling Town Stadium, and when he gets out, he quickly finds out that Dunk Mask has become a huge legend in the world of Bigfoot basketball, spawning a completely new style of street ball. Dan returns home to find out he's got a $53 million debt to pay off. This arc of the series focuses primarily on Dan's attempt to pay the bill off, from him running a delivery service using Dungan Go to making an amateur streetball team to compete in an all-new league some bigwigs from the Moon create to cash in on Dunk Mask's popularity. You might think that all this stress from his sister to the financial situation to becoming a legend might drive Dan to suicide, but no. He just jumps into a god-awful J-pop montage. We also get to meet some of the other main characters here as well. Sera is an amateur BFB player who first appeared in episode 1 as a drink vendor. Also, this happens to her during the destruction. Yeah, this chick is pretty fucked up. Her only defining character trait is that she wants to find a worthy man and breed with him. Worthiness being determined if the man is stronger and more physically fit than her. Whenever she discovers a possible candidate for this, aka whenever she's getting the living fucking bejesus kicked out of her, she becomes massively horny and begins talking about wanting his genes and shit. Also, check out her dragon thing familiar's expression during all of this. There's got to be some twisted lesbian bestiality shit going on here. Then there's Iceman. Not that one. Or that one. Or that one! No, Iceman is the professional BFB player that stops Dan's rampage at the beginning of the series, though he is also seen here from the back. His defining character trait is that he fires off these wild purple basketballs that can destroy almost everything as a weapon. In fact, he streaks "Destroy!" as he does it.
Yeah, what is it, Mr. Cosplay?
It turns out later, though, that the entire time he's just been passing the ball. What an asinine fucking storyline. Also, his last name is Hottie. Alright, Mr. and Mrs. Hottie, what have you decided to name your newborn child? We are also introduced to Haruka Gracia, a woman from the Moon who acts as Dan's manager and designs specialty sneakers for the Bigfoots, which all happen to have the Nike symbol on them. Ah, product placement. She's first introduced in episode 4. What the fuck are those? Real boobs do not work this way. They do not slosh around like that. Everybody chalks up her gigantic floating boob skip balls to the fact that she was born and raised on the Moon, and in a lower gravity environment they ballooned outward. Okay, it's stupid, but let's accept that for a minute. Wouldn't her tits sag like a motherfucker then when she came down to Earth due to the sudden increase in gravity pulling on them? Do they just project their own anti-gravity field? Another character that shows up is this princess who comes from a faraway kingdom, has a little butterfly hairbow / butler, and does absolutely nothing throughout the first arc, and only acts as minor comic relief for the rest of the show. As a character, she's a complete waste of time, and if she was just edited out like Jar Jar Binks was, nothing would be lost at all. The president of the BFB and former star player, James Rohn, arrives on Earth to begin a streetball league and brings some BFB players with him. One of them is a rival of Iceman's, a guy named Falcon.
Falcon. Iceman.
James apparently knows Haruka. In fact, it's implied that they used to date. Then he openly gropes her gigantic tits, calling them Bianca and Kate from Taming of the Shrew.
2つの美しい玉。この世に丸い玉ほど美しいものはない。
Yeah, I know you're saying this line while groping a pair of enormous bazongas, but there's another way that can be taken, dude. But James's new league, Open City Basketball, or OCB for short, gets off to a rocky start, with Dan refusing to join because of some kind of philosophical differences or some shit, despite James already having given him tons of jewels. Dan's solution is by rejecting James, throwing away all of the jewels he's been given, allowing the crowd below to get them. Now, let me get this straight, Dan. You have a $53 million debt. Your desire to play basketball that isn't really any form of basketball at all is more important than your sister's legs, which up until now have been your single driving motivation. What the fuck? How did that ball bounce so well this whole episode if it was full of jewels? And speaking of that, how aren't the crowds getting fucking gored by these intensely hard-edged gemstones falling from the top of the tallest buildings in the city? The second arc opens with the princess and her butterfly stranded in the desert. This section of Basquash focuses on Dan and his team as they travel between various flavored towns performing matches. And really, when you think mechs playing basketball, this is what it should be about. The basketball! Okay, you know the manufactured pop band from the advertisements in the first arc? Eclipse? They joined the series as regular cast members now, with one of the members becoming Dan's eventual love interest, Rouge.
I'm Rouge the Bat, but you can call me Rouge.
They form a streetball team and enter the new league James has set up. Half the time though, they just sing pop songs from their Bigfoots. Also, being from the moon, they've got access to the latest in lunar technology. Good to see that in the future our laptops will still be using USB slots and 9-pin connectors. With the introduction of the Idol Girls comes a lot of weird fucking fan service, with the staged pop concerts, to the shots of them having showers together, to other freaky shit. Though it's not like Basquash was devoid of fan service before their arrival. Look at this scene. Was there any reason for them to frame it like this? They could have had this conversation at a restaurant or a park, but no, we just had to say boobs. This random chick appears and challenges Dan to a match. We've seen her in minor scenes all throughout the series, but this is the first time she's really making her presence felt. She also turns out to be a master basketball player. What? That's a dude. That's a dude. Okay. I'm not really raging over transsexuals or cross-dressers so much here. That's not my game. You want to know what I really have a problem with? The fact that every single character in the whole show unerringly knows he's a guy. You don't think that somebody would question this? Make the mistake for comedic effect? Whatever they see when they look at this dude that screams, "I'm male!" sure isn't fucking obvious to me. And you want to know what the worst thing of it is? That little princess character cross-dresses as a guy and everybody falls for it. Where did your nice psychic sense of determining gender go wrong that time? Alright. I figure it's about time we started talking about the elephant in the room. Yeah, that's right. With all the bullshit I've already gone over, there's still an elephant. Halfway through the series, the original director, Shin Itagaki, was replaced due to differing opinions between the creative staff and the sponsors regarding the direction Basquash should take. See, Itagaki wanted to continue to appeal to otaku and anime fans with jokes, fan service, and references, and more scenes showing off the mechs playing basketball. The sponsor, meanwhile, wanted to broaden the audience and make Basquash, in their words, more accessible. If that was the pre-corporate stuff, I don't even want to know what's coming.
神話の昔、神々が宇宙を駆け巡った大昔、神や星をつかみ奪い合って覇を競い、そしてある時この惑星にダンクを決めました。激しいプレーの果て、神々の足跡は海となり、
That's not all they fucked up either. The original opening was this catchy techno-pop thing, and the ending was an actually decent little hip-hop song. They weren't pinnacles of musical achievement or anything, but you could listen to them and enjoy them. The new stuff? Generic, shitty J-pop. Christ! The show rapidly nosedives from this point on. It turns out the pop idols have been genetically modified to allow them to play Basquash at heightened levels of skill. It's part of an evil plot by this Weasley bastard. Before the director was fired, he was just their limp-dick manager who they constantly pushed around for comedic effect, but he's suddenly the big bad Beetleborg of the show? Give me a fucking break! Dan and the gang finally get to go to the moon by way of the Skybloom Kingdom, the only nation on Earth with the technology to launch spacecraft. However, because Dan is a fucking idiot, he tries to play Basquash in the law-heavy kingdom and is instantly jailed. So in order to get to the moon, James dresses up as the masked superhero, Mr. Perfector, and hijacks the spacecraft for them. He isn't able to save Gans and Belle, who are arrested. However, when they get to the moon, Godan from Wind Waker bounces them off the surface and sends them flying right back to Earth. Their craft crashes into the Earth so hard, it actually drills into the center of the planet where there's another civilization living in caves. Also, none of this remotely damages any of the people on board. You know, just describing that makes my head hurt. Apparently the native species of the moon are a race of 30-foot tall giants, and one of them is living in the underground caves mining this stuff called ultimite. Dan convinces him to join his merry band. His name's Navi, and considering how fucking long he is, you could probably color him blue and pass him off as one. Navi's convinced to give up his job and join Dan for no real reason after about 30 seconds of exposition, and he does absolutely nothing of consequence for the rest of the show except see Seta naked that one time. The final arc of the show sees it really dragging its fucking feet. It's clear they had no idea how to end it at all. Repeating the storyline of 10 episodes ago, Dan and company try to get to the moon again. However, Yang, the geeky manager, has overthrown the king of the Skybloom Kingdom. In order to get to the moon, Dan attacks the Skybloom Kingdom, which is where the final concert for Eclipse is being held, as the group is breaking up. And Rouge has had her memories wiped clear of Dan, and my god, I don't care, I just want this to be fucking over! The Legend Liga is announced as the moon falls to Earth, as humanity's final gambit to save their planet. It involves getting 4 gigantic men to grab the moon and lift it back up in orbit. No, actually, the Legends League is a special basketball league set up by the lunar government in order to try and find the Legend, a person with such amazing basketball skill that his slam dunk is prophesized to be able to realign the planets and put the moon back into its rightful orbit. Yeah, I am not making this up. The ultimate that Navi mined on Earth also exists on the moon, but it's of a different polarity. The 2 caches of ultimate kept the moon from crashing into the Earth, but over time they've lost their power. So forget gravity, orbit, tidal forces, or anything like that, it's fucking ultimate. Their genius idea is to hold a special tournament where energy sensors are rigged up to the baskets. When a person executes a slam dunk hard enough, it will trigger the sensor, and the energy of the dunk will travel halfway across the surface of the moon in these gigantic cables and pump directly into the ultimate, recharging them and putting the moon back in place. This is your master plan? To save the human race and the moon and the Earth and everything? Did you guys even discuss this at all? Like, did anyone have an alternate idea? Anyone? One other point, with her announcing the league, Iceman is there issuing the challenge to any and all high-caliber basketball players on the earth to participate. How? When we last saw Iceman, he was left behind by the rest of the team so he could avenge his arm or whatever the fuck. Then he's gone for 10 episodes and appears on the moon. That's impossible! When Dan and his friends leave the underground, Yang has taken over the Skybloom Kingdom, which was established as having the only way to get to the moon. With Yang in the way, there was no fucking way Iceman or anybody else who is on the moon is actually there!
But with Yang controlling the only way to the moon, how can any of them get there?
この石の力によって星渡りたちは眠っています。目覚めさせるには声を届けなければならない。
Well, it couldn't get any worse.
They get in there, play in the tournament, the show adds in some energy-generated and time-remaining counters to try and desperately inject some tension in these scenes to no avail, and at the final moment they realize that Duncan Ghost's shoes are busted or something, but never fear, it's Navi the Flying Space Nike Delivery Man, flying up from the earth using some vague, mystical, undefined power to deliver another pair. And so they jam a bunch of more times, the moon moves back into position, and they live happily ever after.
No, that's really the ending.
We get a short montage where everybody is after the action, and from what we can gather from the short 5-second clip, they're doing fine, I guess. Everybody got what they wanted, and everybody's doing what they want to be doing. It would be nice to get a little bit more information or context regarding some of these images, I guess, but then I have to ask myself, do I really want to watch more Basquash?
Unfortunately, whether I like it or not, I probably will.
Satellite, the company that made Basquash, announced in early 2010 that it plans to remake Basquash, removing all of the otaku jokes and elements, and revamping the series as purely a children's cartoon.
But guess what? It's not even out yet! Yeah. They haven't even announced a release date, so I guess I'm off the hook for a while, but I'll make you guys a deal. This show gets to 100 episodes. My 100th episode will be Basquash. Yeah. That's right. Same bad time, same bad channel.